We could quote Limp Bizkit to summarize what the UConn men, UConn women, football, and every other sport at UConn is currently doing. They keep rolling, 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 rolling. This is Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday and welcome back into another edition of Locked On UConn. I am Matt Schonvisky, a two-time graduate, 10-year credentialed media member and host of the only daily UConn sports podcast, Locked On UConn, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the number one sports podcast network in the world. Please hit the like and subscribe button, and thank you for making this your first listen each and every single day. On today's show, men's basketball finally got off to a quick start in their win on Saturday. Then the women absolutely dismantled Creighton, and finally, football continues to add from the transfer portal. But first, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. Visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. So UConn men were back in action on Saturday, and they took down DePaul 72-60 at People's Bank Arena. And looking back at what we wanted to see heading into this game, we saw some of it. We didn't see everything. We saw some of it, including a fast start, a quick start, a let's not sleepwalk into a game in Big East Conference play type of push out of the gates by UConn. But big picture, end-to-end game, I left wanting more. I left wanting more despite a 12-point win. And the 12-point win, listen, it was in the 20s. When the gates started exiting, or the stands started exiting, fans were out the gates, heading back to their cars before clocks hit 000. Because this game was completely out of reach. But still, I want to see start to finish, and I know Dan Hurley wants to see the same as well. Leading into the game, I talked about Silas Demery, I talked about solo ball. We got one, we didn't get two. Braylon Mullins, back-to-back games leading the way scoring-wise. He put in 16 on 5 of 10, shooting 2 of 5 from 3. Mr. Consistency, Alex Karaban. 15 points, 5 rebounds. And then Demery, the third head of the big three on Saturday. 14 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds, 3 steals. Doing it all. And Mullins had 3 steals too. As UConn had 12 in the day, they accounted for half between the two of them. UConn out-rebounded DePaul 30-25. So, looking back on what we wanted to continue to see from this UConn basketball team. Quick start, check. Don't sleepwalk in games, check. Hustle to loose balls, check. Silas Demery, continue to score, check. What didn't we see? Solo ball. Didn't lead the way scoring-wise. He had 7 points, 27 minutes, 3 of 5 from the field. He didn't score until the second half. He started to assert himself in that second half where he got a few to the rim, a couple drives, got to the basket, started to get his game going a bit in that second half. I think he's going to be well-suited to pick up where he left off against DePaul as the Huskies move forward. UConn improved to 16-1 on the season, 6-0 in conference play. Bench-wise, Ryba, 6 points. Jaden Ross, 3. Malachi Smith, 3. Jalen Stewart didn't score. He didn't even shoot in his 12 minutes. So the Huskies were up 10 at the half. And then they really put it to DePaul before the final couple minutes. DePaul went on that run to cut it to 12. So the scoreboard looked, and the score looks closer than the game actually was. But still, I want to see a full 40 minutes from this team, start to finish. That's something that I have and we have not seen yet. I think the next step for this team, we talk a lot about what this team is capable of, I want to see it. I need to see it. We need to see them put together 40 minutes. Because if you don't put 40 minutes together, especially when it comes to tournament time, you leave the door open a minute, 2 minutes. That's an opportunity for teams, the quality of Arizona, the quality of BYU, quality of Florida, to be able to come back. Just like if you look back at that BYU game, got out to such a quick start, right? In Boston. Complete, utter domination. They didn't step on their throats. And when they didn't step on their throat, BYU, led by who I think is the best player in the nation. No offense to anybody at UConn, but I think BYU has the best player in the nation. They took it to the Huskies down that stretch and got it all the way down to 2 before UConn held on. That's what can happen if you don't play a full 40. And if you're doing it against teams like DePaul, if you sleepwalk into games like at Providence, if you let teams get out the gate to a stronger start than you, like against Butler and against DePaul on the road, and if you don't play up to par against Marquette, you're going to be in situations and figure out at the end of the year, you're going to be sitting at home, trying to figure out what happened. UConn has a lot of time still to go. They're 16-1. They are 6-0. The sky is not falling. But, if I'm sitting here and I'm Coach Hurley, I want to see more. Each and every single day. I want to see more. And these double-digit wins are great. Listen, Wednesday night last week was one of the best games I've watched in a while, entertainment-wise. Thrilling end. Emotional. Got the blood flowing. Gives you pride as a UConn fan that your team performs that way. But I'm starting to see a bit of a trend start to create itself. And I don't want that to continue. So as UConn goes on the road on Tuesday night at Seton Hall, it's a big one. Seton Hall ranked 4-1 conference play, 14-2 overall. They're the number 2 in the number 2 slot in the Big East. You've got your top 2 teams going at it. I am very interested to see at Dan Hurley's alma mater how the Huskies react, how they perform for a full 40. Do they stick it to them? Do they come ready for the entire game? Out the gates, heading into half, coming out of the locker room till the clocks hit 000. That's what I want to see. We will preview the Seton Hall game on Tuesday morning. But UConn continues to show out well. But there's still, if we're looking for things to poke on, I just talked about it. We've got the rotation set. They've gotten the rebounding going. They got over the slow starts. I need to see a full 40. But you can't complain about double-digit wins in games where you were up by 20+ with a few minutes to go. So maybe I'm looking for things here. But as I'm thinking about how these games went, how things played out, and then against top competition, what you need to do, you cannot have lapses. And that's what I'm looking for as we go forward. So on the other side of the break, we will switch gears to the UConn women who, oh man, you want to talk about putting it to somebody. Beat Creighton by 41. We'll talk about it on the other side. The college football playoff is here, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs. Because right now, every college football playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. Here's what I love about it. You get to use the profit boost on the bets you already feel good about. Ride with the favorite when you think a team controls the matchup. Take a shot on the underdog if you feel an upset is coming. Or build a parlay around the players and moments you think decide the game. Then you apply the profit boost and go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff boost every game day, including next Monday night's January 19th national championship between Miami and Indiana. Again, FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boosts every game day. Back in on Locked On UConn, and we are switching gears from the men's win over the weekend to the absolute demolition that UConn did to Creighton on the women's side on Sunday. And leading into this game, we previewed. What did we say? What were we expecting? We weren't expecting a 20 or 30-point win, right? We said we were expecting a 40 to 50-plus win. And what transpired? 95 to 54. Huskies took it to them by 41 points. You might think 21 to 14 coming out of the first quarter is a good start right out of the gates. How about this for a second quarter? 33 to 7. The Huskies absolutely took it to Creighton and won the second 10-minute period by 26 points. 26. So UConn absolutely dominated out in Nebraska. And surprise, surprise, who led the way? Sarah Strong with 18 points, 13 rebounds. How about this? 6 assists. We're not done. 5 steals. Stat sheet stuffer is what you would call that. And I think back to our conversation with Bob Joyce. If they had a stat line for deflections, Sarah Strong would be a candidate for quadruple or quintuple doubles at times. She's just that good. She makes such an impact. Blanca off the bench, second leading scorer on Sunday, 15 points, 4 rebounds. AZ, 14 points, 5 assists. And Ashlyn Shade, 12 points. And KK Arnold, 4 assists, 4 steals, put in 5 points. So UConn absolutely dominant. Improves to 17-0, 8-0 in the Big East. 1 week out from the first of 2 remaining big-time matchups. They got Notre Dame coming up next Monday, championship night on the football side. Huskies and Irish will lead that in at 5 o'clock before you could switch gears onto the college football national championship. We talked about defense the last time out for UConn when they forced 33 turnovers. They followed that up with another 21 forced turnovers. 22 forced turnovers. The big thing coming out of this one, because Gino has some things that he could point to. UConn committed 21 of their own. So they forced 22, but they committed 21 of their own. Not a good performance whatsoever. Carelessness at times. They got 15 steals, but they turned it over themselves 21 times. However, overall defense, my gosh, held Creighton a 3 of 25 from 3. A whopping low 12%. 12%. Again, an opponent is shooting in the low 30s overall. 31% was Creighton. UConn dominated the glass and just utter domination throughout. So UConn continues to roll. Speaking of rolling, like we talked about at the start, UConn continues to absolutely roll through their Big East Conference slate. Now 17-0, 8-0 in conference play, and listen, no end in sight. That's the big thing that I see with this women's team. You've got a 41-point win. And I can sit here and say 21 turnovers. And Gino can say 21 turnovers. And he can look at Sarah Williams. Why are you committing 6 turnovers? Blanca, why are you committing it 4 times? Great, you went 7-11 from the field. That's great. You were 0 for 2 from the free throw line. The only 2 misses, though, by the way, for UConn. So we talked about free throws and needing to improve free throws, 86%. 86%, 12 14 from the stripe. Another check the box in terms of what we want to see improve. So I think they are over the free throw woes. Next up, you got to clean these turnovers up because when you play Tennessee, when you play Notre Dame, who came off a 20-plus point win against a ranked North Carolina team yesterday, you're not going to be able to turn it over 21 times. Every 2 minutes, a turnover. No. Can't do that. So if you're Gino, you're in a great spot. Rolled again. Up 33 at the half again. 41-point win again. But things still to improve. And just like the men's side, it's a great place to be because you do not want to get complacent. That's the one thing. Complacency kills. Complacency kills. The mindset and the approach that you take every single day, regardless if you're up, you're down, you're average, you're above average, you're great, you're elite, it kills. It kills momentum. It kills mindset. It kills your flow. So you cannot let some of these things creep in, and I know Gino will address it. I know this team will address it, and I know the Huskies will move on past their 41-point win. Listen, we got a nitpick here. There's not much else to say. You want me to come on every single day and say, hey, great win, dominant win, nothing to do here, no improvement? That's not the case. Nobody is ever a finished product. That's one of my life lessons for today. Nobody is ever a finished product, right? There's always room for improvement, no matter how good you are, no matter how great you are, no matter how elite you are, whether individual, in your career, in your life, as a husband, as a wife, as a mother, or as a daughter. You can always improve. And listen, that's why Gino is so successful. That's why his women's programs are so successful. That's why Dan Hurley's so successful. They don't settle for average. They don't settle for checking the box. They don't settle for coasting. You need to continue to strive to improve every single day. Otherwise, you just become one of these other average programs, which is okay for some people. In some places, in some schools, in some universities. Okay is okay. Average is okay. Listen, if we were talking UConn football a few years ago, average was spectacular. But if you look at UConn as a whole, and we're going to touch on this later in the week, got 4 teams ranked in the top 10 in this athletic department. UConn doesn't settle for average. No matter what sport you play. Regardless of how long it was between bowl games, UConn football does not settle for average. And you've got a coach in here now that will not settle for average. So as we move forward, we will nitpick because that's exactly what these coaching staffs are doing. And that's exactly what these teams need to do to continue the uptick to greatness in elite things and accomplishing elite feats, such as undefeated seasons, such as 3 national championships in 4 seasons, such as improving on the football side from back-to-back 9 wins to maybe getting double digits for the first time in program history. And that segue leads us to our final segment of the day, On the Gridiron. Who are the players that head coach Jason Candle and staff are bringing in to help accomplish that feat? We'll talk about it on the other side. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels. That's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh, all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. I love how I could find pieces that match my style without spending a fortune. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as expected. It honestly made getting back into a routine this year feel a lot more manageable. Get organized, refreshed, and back on track this year for way less. Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Back in on Locked On UConn in our final segment. Switching gears to the football side of things as head coach Jason Candle and his recruiting staff and his entire football staff have more than hit the ground running since in the last, a week and a half that they were announced as a full staff, have pulled in more than 30 transfers. 30 plus transfers from the transfer portal since it opened up on January 2nd. That's 10 days. Huskies have made a tremendous amount of progress. By the latest count from A.J. Harrison, you've got 34 players. With another 12 coming since the weekend. Some on offense, some on defense. Start offensively. Got a couple more running backs into the fold, including a P4 transfer from West Virginia, Sincere Bowers. So, for those, again, that have had concerns about, hey, we're bringing in Toledo's roster, well, Bowers comes from West Virginia. Played for Rich Rod. Played in the Big 12. He's coming in. Also coming in is Trey Cornist, another running back who began his career at Tulane, transferred to Central Michigan, and now will be coming here to UConn. Few wide receivers. Ryder Treadway caught my attention in the bowl game against Louisville. Seems to be a possession receiver, can run routes. Just based on limited time watching him, he was only a redshirt freshman, I think, at the most. Might have been a true freshman. I think he can come in here and compete right away for time. Also, Cameron Flowers, another Toledo wide receiver, coming in. On the offensive line, continuing to bolster that unit. Nathan Pahanic from Wake Forest, another P4 transfer from the Hun School, just like Ryan Vandermark in Princeton, New Jersey. New Jersey pipelines, I think Campanelli pipeline is helping there. And then Christian Richter began his career at Lehigh, transferred into Marshall, and now it takes another step up here to UConn. So those are your offensive transfers since the last time we talked. On the defensive side, you've got 3 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. And I will say half of these are coming from Oregon State. P4. Another one coming from NC State. P4. Another from North Dakota State. Perennial FCS national champion. So UConn continues to look and find guys to be able to come in and play immediately that have had experience at a top-level institution. I'm going to butcher a few names. First guy, Tajay Mullix, defensive lineman from Oregon State. His counterpart at the linebacker level, I'm just going to say his last name, Sayaz. And then Terrace Dudley from NC State. So you're continuing to build up and build up and build up a roster full of transfers that have played and had experience at P4 level schools. They're going to be able to come in here and fit right in to what UConn does and how they operate, which is going to be like a P4 institution. Because top to bottom, this athletic department, we all know, is a P4 athletic department. I've ranted before on this show about how UConn needs to portray themselves as P4. They operate as a P4. And these players coming in with that type of experience are only going to help bolster this roster. And I know UConn's not done. So you got 34 transfers coming in. We had a list of 71, up to 71 players either graduating or transferring out. One of those that's coming back is a huge comeback, is wide receiver Shamar Porter, who was the top recruit in, if you remember back when UConn got him, was the top recruit in the Kentucky recruiting class in the SEC one season. And he's come in and he's performed when asked. And I think he's been underutilized to date. That speaks to the depth that you've had at the receiver position. He's going to be ready to take the next step forward. And everyone else that they're bringing in is going to be great for depth and for other pieces to utilize in this offense. And we're going to start to get to know some of these players as we move forward. Later this week, we're going to be talking to Caleb Osborne, quarterback transfer from Toledo. Started the bowl game against Louisville. I think he's got a real opportunity, probably a very good chance to be the opening day starter next season for UConn. So we're talking to him later this week. Finalize the details, but probably Wednesday or Thursday show. We'll see exactly when he pops in. So that's a quick football update. This is the heart of basketball season. We are going to be focused very much so on basketball. Football is making some big news. Huge roster turnover. It's an opportunity for us to show you, the fans, exactly who's coming in, who's going to be able to make an impact, some of the names to watch as we move forward. And then there's some other sports that are making some names for themselves as well that are top 10 caliber in the nation on the ice. So as those sports continue towards their back half of their regular season and into postseason, we're going to reach out and we're going to try to get some players or coaches from those schools on the show as well. So keep an eye out for that as we move forward. But for today, that's all for today's show. Tomorrow we'll be previewing the Seton Hall matchup down in Jersey. Dan Hurley homecoming, his alma mater. We'll turn the page to Seton Hall tomorrow. But for now, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of Locked On UConn. Please hit the like and subscribe button. And for a second listen, check out Locked On Sports Today, hosted by Peter Bukowski, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. Now, as always, go Huskies!